Hi Anusha, I'm going to walk you through how the extract and insert layout test steps work inside of Provar automation. So firstly, you can create a new test case just to try this out in. So I've got a new test case here with a single Salesforce Connect step in it. The one thing that you will need to specify is the Salesforce application. This does determine which objects normally you'll be able to interact with if there's any restriction there. Outside of that, just a standard connection would be fine. Then you can go to the test palette, and if you scroll down to the Salesforce section, you'll see two different steps: extract and assert Salesforce layout. So the use case that you're referring to, normally what you would do is you would add in an extract Salesforce layout step in, let's say, January. So similar to how I've done here, I have an extract Salesforce layout step added. I just drag and drop this into my test case, and then I specify the connection name and the object I want to extract. Provar doesn't do it based on profile, but rather based on the object in the org. And it will pull out all the profile information for that particular object. If it is a dynamic form, we can extract those layouts as well by checking the dynamic form layout box here. If you want to include field permissions in the extraction for the assertion at a later date, you can check the box here to include field permissions. Then you just need to specify the name of the file that you want to save this extraction to. You can leave the rest blank for now, and then you can run the test case. What this will do is this will extract the opportunity object along with all of its field permission data, field accessibility data, field types, and all of that to a spreadsheet. Now at a later point in time, what you would do is you would use this extracted file to assert what is currently in the org. So if anything changes, it would give you a result from that and let you know what has changed and what is not currently equivalent. And again, this does it at the entire object level, so it would work across every single profile. So you'd only need to do this once per object rather than once per every profile in the org. So in this way, it's a little bit easier rather than having to figure out which profile you want to validate. You can exclude certain columns if you don't want to include certain profiles in the comparison. You would just need to put the profile names in the exclude columns parameters here. This may take a minute if you have quite a few fields for your object that you're testing against. So I'll let that run for a second here. Once it's complete, because I just specified the file name here, it will put the file directly in my test project folder here. So if I right click the project and go to refresh, I'll now see that I have a spreadsheet called object here. I can right click and I can open this with my system editor. It will open it in Excel, and there you go. So this is here are all the fields for the opportunity object. Here are all the labels that show up in Salesforce, whether or not they're required, their data type, if they include any formulas, summary, and if they're a pick list, here's all the pick list values for those as well. And then again, if you scroll to the right for this first worksheet here, you'll see every single profile inside of Salesforce, what permission they have for that particular field. So if it's read and write, if it's read only, and so on. So you'll be able to see all of that here. Now you don't have to manually verify this, and you don't have to look at this and know exactly what all is extracted, but all the data is here. In the second worksheet, this will show specific layout information. So if you have different sections in your layout, this will show you each of those fields and how they're displayed in those sections, as well as the row and column that they appear in. This last one will show you any different record types you have for that particular object. So if you had multiple record types for the opportunity object, you would see those here. Okay, so now what do you do with this? So you have this extracted. The next step is validating it or asserting it. So I'll go ahead and close this out. So let's say a month has passed. We've done a release, and we want to validate whether or not the opportunity object comes back as valid in the sense that the extraction that we previously performed here. So what we're going to do is I've created the new test case here called Assert Profile. We can call this Assert Object. And then I've added in a Salesforce Connect step, same as before. And then I've gone to my test palette and added in an Assert Salesforce Layout step. I specified object, and I specified record page layout. This is not a dynamic form. And then I specify the name of the file that I want to validate. You can again exclude specific columns from your comparison if you don't want to compare specific profile names. I've also checked include field permissions because I'll want all of those to be included in the comparison. You can check unmatched item rules here. So in other words, if you want to exclude the comparison of the actual field names or things like that, this will only pull in the actual columns that occur after those header columns. I leave everything as the default here besides enabling the field permission comparison. So I'll go ahead and run this in debug mode to show you what it does. It'll basically take that spreadsheet that we extracted and it'll again assert the layout against the current extraction. So it essentially will perform that extraction again. The only difference is it's going to compare it with what we have in that spreadsheet. So this may take a minute because we had quite a few fields on that opportunity object, but once this is complete, we would know that nothing has significantly changed in the opportunity. If we wanted to know at the profile level what is changing and what is coming back, again, the exclude columns can be used for that. So if we want to look at our opportunity object spreadsheet, exclude columns goes by the first row here. So if you want to exclude, for example, the marketing profile, you would just copy this column name and you would put it in the exclude columns list here, which would mean that you're not asserting the marketing profile column. Once the assertion is complete, you will get a full comparison of what has been done here. So I can make this a little bit bigger. You'll see it's compared all the fields, all the record types. So every field, it's doing a step-by-step item comparison. So in other words, it's going to go down every single field name, compare the labels for that field, whether or not it's required, record type, and so on. It'll do this for every single field, and it'll do this for every single record type. Hope that helps. Let me know if you have any questions.